this is Rochelle, Vegan with Spice. I am back. I am back because I didn't get to finish telling you all the wonderful information I wanted to tell you about saving your plants, not killing your plants, making sure that when you're on Zoom and you have the camera facing your home office, that your plants aren't dead, because we know, we've seen the dead plants on Zoom. I even saw a commercial, and the commercial had a dead pothos hanging in the back, and I thought, did they not see that? So I want to show you what you can do to save your plants. I did talk a little bit before the Wi-Fi cut me off about some things I was going to do to save a couple of the plants. So I want to show you what I've done thus far. Hopefully this Wi-Fi hangs on. And so let's talk about what plants need, and I'll show you why these plants have a good chance of surviving, even though they were halfway dead. So the number one killer of plants is water. That could be overwatering or underwatering. Right now we're probably overwatering, and we're overwatering because we're home. And also we have the overwater, underwater dynamic that goes on when you see a plant that's really dry. You pass by it in your house and you say, oh, I'm going to add some water to it. You dump a bunch of water on it. Then it sits in the water and gets root rot. So we don't want to do that with any of our plants. We want to kind of stay on a schedule. And I'd say if you're just starting out with being a plant parent, that you want to start by watering your plants generally once a week. If you go and check the plant and it doesn't need water, hold off for another week. That's going to be true for your cactus and your succulents, like your jades, okay? So about every 10 to 14 days, check those. Just check in on them every 7 days, though. You can see if they have anything that's developing before it gets too bad. So I want to show you the redo of some of these plants that were dying. So this is not the finished product, but this is how it's potted up. I'll show you the finished product hopefully in a month. So do you remember this poor little thing that was trailing? It was trailing with this long stem with no leaves. And I told you I was going to cut it and repot it. And so I did. There it is. Now I stuck some rocks in there to help beautify it, also to hold down these very lightweight stems. This is a succulent plant, and the proper way to do a succulent plant is to cut the stem and to take the leaves or the stem and let them dry out if you don't have a root. And then once that root has scabbed over, in about 3 to 7 days, to plant it. I didn't do that with this one, and here's why. This one, it's kind of wilted. It's really on its last leg. It's got some green because it's in kind of, that's the color it is. It didn't crisp up. It's 5 seconds from crisping up. If I were to cut it and let it dry out, it's for sure gone. So what I did was I cut it, I stuck it in the soil, and I did not water it in. So I'm giving it a chance to harden over so that it won't rot. As you can see, it's very limp. We don't know if this one's going to make it, but I think it might make it. So I gave it its best chance of making it. There's no water in here right now, weighted down with the rocks so it doesn't come out. Hopefully it will root, and I'll know if it rooted in about a month. It should perk up. So I will give you an update on this little plant in about a month. Same plant, same problem. There's the big shoot that had the trailing plant. There it is, got the rocks in it, took the base part, planted it, left this part on thinking maybe it'll root another plant, but I don't know. So this one was a little healthier at the base, a little springy. I think this one will definitely make it. So I'm going to put these aside and show you some of the other ones. This has been interesting because I'm having to get creative with pots, because if you're the average plant parent right now, you may not have all the funds to go out and spend a bunch of money on a bunch of things that don't pertain to your essential well-being. I consider my plants an essential part of my life and my lifestyle because they purify the air. I started originally for that purpose of purifying the air 20 years ago. So here we go with this poor little baby that was shooting up about 4 inches in the air. and then another little plant baby right beside it. You see that? So what I did was I repotted it again. These two had roots, so I didn't have to wait for them to harden off before I put them in the soil. Put them in the soil. I still did not water them. I'm going to water them in a couple weeks. Not in a couple weeks, a couple days. They've been traumatized enough from the replanting. A couple days, I'm going to let them settle in there, and I'm going to water them in. This plant I had soaked in water before I repotted it. Again, it was about 5 or 6 inches high. And so I put it into the soil. I didn't harden it off. A couple of these have roots. So I'll put that in a nice looking pot, and we'll see how it does in a month. Same with this one. This was the top of a very unattractive looking plant. I cut the bottom leaves off so they wouldn't rot. Put them in soil. The soil around the original plant was really wet, so I did not have to water it in. And I'm not going to water it in for a few more days. I'm going to let some of the water that was existing in there evaporate. And let's look at this poor baby. It's come a long way, and it's not quite done. But we got to start. This is heavy because of our shopping challenges. I had to go with what I had. So I am running out of pots that are sufficient in size. This was the one, the plant, the yucca with the roots coming out of the bottom. Here we are. You see that? That garbage can. Yes, it is. It's a plastic garbage can from IKEA. So I'm going to back up a little bit. Sorry about the noise, so you can see the plant. Oh, there it is. Now, this garbage can, I think, is $1. It's $1.79 or 79 cents. Either one, I can't remember. So this was lying around, had not been used, and I have used these as planters before. If I lift it up and tilt it a little bit, you'll see that it has no holes in the bottom of it. You could simply drill 3 or 4 holes in the bottom of it and allow for drainage. I didn't do that this time. I hope that I don't live to regret it. I suggest that you always do that. I don't have access to a drill. Sometimes I take a nail and hammer the nail in just a little bit, but this is plastic that oftentimes will crack it, and I didn't want to crack it. So what I did, and this is why this is partially so heavy, is I stuck some stones in the bottom of it so that the plant's root won't sit in water. I think it's going to work with this one because I'll show you this. This pot is probably about 12 inches high. The plant roots are sitting about here, and the stones are down here. So it shouldn't have to set in water. The water will leak all the way down to the bottom. The water, it would have to be pretty waterlogged to be up to this point. Now, I almost wanted to do a video of just this one plant to show you how far gone it was. Garbage cans as planters, they actually work really well. I like the aesthetic of it. So I'm really happy with, I believe it was 79 cents. Either 79 or $1.79, but very cheap. But I like it, and I'm pretty happy with it. So this plant is going to look not attractive for a while. It's going to grow like that. It's going to go into shock, and by shock, plant shock means sometimes it'll droop a little bit, sometimes it will mainly just droop or drop leaves. I don't predict this one was going to drop any leaves. It was traumatized enough that this is a really good thing for this plant to be out of the container. So I'm not really worried about the droopiness of it. The leaves are kind of dry. I did water this one, and normally, as I said, you can heal or you can grow. You can't do both. So I don't add any kind of conditioner to it. This one I gave a little coffee because I had some leftover coffee. So I took a cup of coffee, diluted it with 16 ounces of water, and gave it a nice 24-ounce drink to get the soil nice and wet. In about 3 weeks to a month, I will go ahead and do a fertilizer specifically for this plant type. But in the meantime, to beautify it a little bit, because it's kind of looking homely, I could put some moss around the top so it's not so leggy, or I can put some other plants in here that are compatible with this kind of plant. So this is a desert plant. I'm going to scare up some cactuses. I'm not a cactus succulent person, but I'm going to do it for this plant. For this baby, I'm going to try and help it out a little bit. So I'm going to put maybe 5 in here. So I would really like to see something that trails over the side. So I could get string of bananas, if I could find string of bananas, which is a succulent. That doesn't require much water. I could also use string of pearls if I could find string of pearls, and it would hang over the bottom. String of pearls might be a little too long, but I'm definitely going to try and get something that trails. If I can't find anything that trails, just a regular succulent will be okay. So this is a plastic IKEA garbage can. There is no drainage. I put stones in the bottom of it to absorb the water. So it's very, very heavy. I'm going to put this down. Okay.